call the police on someone sunbathing naked in a public space. That's what took place when a nudity row broke out at Hampstead Heath pond in London as complaints about a sunbather who refused to cover up forced staff to call 999.
Well, there is no law against it, but as the temperature rises, should sunbathing naked in public be banned? Or should people be allowed to express themselves in the open?
I think you do you. It's kind of, we're in 2023 now, right? It's a fairly liberal nation. If you want to get naked, get naked.
To each their own. Unless they're breaking the law, then I don't really see a problem with that.
I don't think that's okay. It's just quite offensive to people's eyes. Like, it's just a bit shocking, isn't it?
They can do what they want. It's a free country, free life. Embrace. We've all got bodies.
Well, joining us now to discuss this is naturist Helen Berryman, who initially was against the idea of being naked in public, but after joining her husband at a naturist convention, said it had been the freest she'd ever felt. Also
joining us is brand and culture expert Nick Eade, who believes there are other ways to promote body positivity.
Good morning to you both.
Start with you,
Thanks
Helen.
for joining us.
Thank you. There you were, going to a naturist camp as a closed model to do a shoot. A couple of years ago, 3 years ago, and you suddenly thought it's embarrassing being clothed where everybody else is naked. Took your clothes off, and as we can see, you've never put them back on again.
I mean, I do wear clothes sometimes. But yeah, it was a eureka moment for me. I just sort of realised that actually my body is just my body. There's nothing sensational about it. There's no need to sexualise it. It literally is just my body. And I accept it as it is.
But it is, because people don't get their bodies out in public as a general rule, I think that's why, obviously, when people do, it's seen as quite a big thing, isn't it? But do you think people should have the right just to be able to take their clothes off and sunbathe naked?
I do. I mean, with all the sort of things that are going on in the world at the moment, are we really that bothered about a nude body sunbathing in a quiet corner of a park? You know, it seems a bit, you know, there's so much else going on that we could be concerned about.
Let's see what Nick thinks. Nick, are you that bothered about a naked body sunbathing in the corner of a park?
Completely. I mean, the only bush I want to see when I'm having a sandwich is a green one with birds in it. That's the only thing I want to see. And I have issues with it because I think it's a very selfish thing. It's about you and your empowerment, and I completely understand body positivity, which I think is fantastic, but you're not taking into consideration the other people within that environment who might be a little bit triggered, they might find it a little bit offensive, as somebody said in that VT, they might find that something that is only sort of seen in the bedroom or when you're having a shower. So that's kind of really where I've got a problem with it.
But the law is really clear.
Sorry. Many triggers. And why is nudity one of them? I could be triggered by the colour of your top.
Of course.
You know, but where do we draw the line?
Well, I think because nudity, we see it, or we are told that we see it in different ways. So, unlike a colour, that's something that might trigger you. But, you know, from a nudity point of view, people are told to avert their eyes, whether you're with your children, with your family. People see it as offensive, and that might be a conditioning thing. But also...
But how is it offensive? It's just a body. You've got one. You've got one in the shower. It's naked as well, presumably.
Of course it is.
How is that offensive?
Well, I think
someone's just lying...
Because you're not considering other people. You're not considering how they might find that experience. They might feel it. You know, when you go swimming, people wear their swimming trunks, etc. So, you know, it's...
Have you ever done a naked swim?
I haven't, and I should.
Right.
Helen, let's just talk about the law for a minute, because I don't think I actually understood this before, but it's not illegal to take your clothes off, but the problem is if it's done in a way where it's intended to cause distress upset or shock to a person. So if you went and took off your clothes standing at a primary school gate when the kids were coming out of school, that would be totally inappropriate.
Well, of course it would.
Exactly. Or if it was late night on a tube and you were a man and there were people in the carriage. So how do you judge where the line is, where it goes from clearly inappropriate? It's clearly appropriate in a nudist camp. Where is the kind of the hardest issue for you to decide where it's appropriate?
Well, you have to be respectful, and naturism is all about being respectful of your surroundings, the other people that are around you. No one is there to cause you any offence, but we have the right, and it is legal, to sunbathe naked, to go on a naked walk. But obviously, you would choose your surroundings. You know, you're not going to go for a naked walk down Oxford Street or something like that.
But you would choose, so even outside of a designated area, for example, you think people should still have the right to be able to choose to take all their clothes off in a public setting?
Yes, I think it's about behaviour. I mean, if you're going to take your clothes off and your intention is to badly behave, then, yeah, I agree that's inappropriate. But if you're just sunbathing naked...
And Nick, this is the point, isn't it? If you take the phrase indecent exposure, it's not the exposing, it's the intention to behave in an indecent way. And as I said, you wouldn't do it on the tube or at a primary school gate, but in a park, especially at a park when there's a swimming place, if you don't want to see naked people there, can't you go somewhere else?
Exactly. Well, me go somewhere else. Well, you know, I can do that, but the fact of the matter is I don't think I have to sort of move away from people who are naked. I mean, somewhere like Brighton that has a nudist beach, you know exactly where that is, why it's there, and it's a community of people who are enjoying being nudists. That's fine. But I think from my point of view, I don't want to sort of feel that I'm in an area where I have to avert my eyes, where I feel a little bit intimidated.
How about your neighbour next door? You're sitting at home, looking out your window, and your neighbour next door is nude in their garden. Is that going to trigger you?
I think it probably would trigger me, actually, if you met my neighbour, but I think... I'm joking. I think, you know, the fact of the matter is that I think that it's...
So they shouldn't be able to be nude in their back garden?
I don't think they should be nude in their back garden if you can see it.
But why? Does that not say a little bit more about your thoughts on nudity rather than just the naked body?
Maybe it does, but I think the main thing for me is that you've got to be considerate, as I said, of the environment. Within your own home, of course you can be naked.
It's their back garden.
It's their back garden, but, you know, other people can see, potentially.
But
you don't have to look.
Exactly.
But you always look, Ed.
Will you?
Why? Why would you
I've got to say, Nick, you know, you don't have to look.
No, you're right, you don't have to look, and I completely agree with you with regards to that. But I do think that you have to be very conscious of where you are and you expose your nudity, and also think your intentions will always be fantastic, but other people might misconstrue your intentions, and that's one of the issues.
So you're uncomfortable right now?
I'm not uncomfortable at all.
Interesting.
It's interesting that naturism is on the increase. We know that 14% of people now describe themselves as naturists or nudists. That's 6.5 million people, 1 in 7. And back in 2011, it was only 6%. So obviously there's sort of a groundswell towards.
It means you're not the only naturist in this studio.
Absolutely.
I mean, goodness knows, I'm looking round to see who else is the naturist. I mean, you know, it would be 3 of us in this room.
I think COVID has had a lot to do with it, and, you know, people have started to think, do you know what, life is too short, why don't I just be comfortable? I'm comfortable. I wish I'd discovered naturism and body freedom so many years ago, and if I can help one person just be comfortable in the skin they're in, then I consider that a win.
5 years ago, did you agree with Nick?
5 years ago, quite potentially, yes. You know, I was vehemently against it at first as well, because I'd been conditioned, like most people, to think nudity was sexual. And, you know, I've learned it isn't.
Well, maybe you're conditioning me to in 5 years' time. We'll be here.
Yes, you'll be down the naturist camp with
when
me.
you pop out the studio, who knows what's going to happen?
Exactly, who knows? Me and Helen will be hand in hand down Oxford Street.
I can only say the mind boggles.
Listen, we've got to thank both of you for coming in,
very much.
Nick, and a particular thank you, Helen, obviously. You know, we appreciate you coming in this morning to join us.
Thank you.
Take part in
Thank you
this.
so much.